the track. All right. We are good to go and we're live. All right, everybody. You are with myself and attorney Salma Benkabbou, and we will be talking about the importance of managing your ecosystem today. And this will be for the Bold Vision podcast. So if you want to check out more podcasts like this, you can go to boldvisionpodcast.com. And now, attorney Benkabbou is with let me make sure I say it right, the Benkabbou Law Firm, and she is the millennial business lawyer. So if I missed anything, I'm gonna say Salma for the rest of this. Please fill in the gaps.
No, that was perfect, actually. So thank you.
All right, and what does your firm focus on if somebody's watching this thinking, okay, like what would I contact our firm for?
So we help entrepreneurs protect their creative greatness. So we help companies that are starting out, and then we also help companies that are scaling. Our client base consists of startups that are bootstrapping to, companies who are in 7 and 8 figures. So we pride ourselves on providing the same type of services to all. So that's what we focus on.
And recently, like we just checked out the site right before this live. And one of the things I saw is like her pop-up came up for a newsletter. And I was like, oh, the pop-up's right there. And she said very modestly, I would join if I were you. She started to tell me a story about some of the information in the newsletter and why it would be important for any business owner watching this to sign up for the newsletter. So can you give us that story again?
Sure. So I was saying that we give a lot of insightful articles and insightful stories. And then we also provide any kind of resources that are out there or available. For example, we provided a resource for a grant for restaurant owners, and 2 of our clients were able to sign up, and they actually got approved for the grants. So it was pretty cool.
And if you all know, like right now, being able to get extra money is important. And, so many platforms are asking for your information to join in newsletters, Bold Vision included. It's one of those things where you got to figure out like who's producing really the best content and makes me want to sign up. So I thought that story was really relevant to let you all know if you've been like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna check out the company or the firm. And that's at benkabbowlawfirm.com, correct? Correct. And the link is in the title. So for anybody who's listening to this, just go back to boldvisionpodcast.com and pull this episode. The link is in the comments, but the link is also in the title. And today we're not going deep into law. We're kind of gonna have a fun conversation. So if you're watching this, it's going to be a fun conversation. But also at the same time, this is that moment where, you got to think, what does my company need to legally, what do they need to represent the firm or the business the right way? Like, and anybody who doesn't know Salma, she was a speaker at the Bold Vision Summit, our first one, our only one so far because of COVID. But it was such a great experience. And to see her in her element, she's about facts, people. Like she is not playing around. When she hits the stage, like today we're gonna have fun, so you can see the different side. But when she hits the stage, it is like factual. She is full eye contact with everybody in the audience. And that's who you want representing you or even giving you information when you're looking for, a lawyer to represent you. So I
appreciate that.
Stamp of approval is right there. She's awesome. But today, we've been friends for about 4 years now.
It's crazy.
I know, right? And shout out to Attorney Beverly Winstead for introducing us.
Definitely.
Many years ago in Upper Marlboro at the golf course. So right. Yeah, shout out to Beverly. And since then, we've been rocking since then, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes we have like deep business conversations, which we should, but then other times we have just fun conversations, which we also should as business owners, because you got to have fun. So right now, if you guys see me looking up and down, I'm sharing this to various groups because I know this information is going to move a lot of people, because this is the part about friends. This is the part about growth. This is going to be the part about managing friends while managing growth, while trying to maintain friendships, maintain strategic business partnerships, having those people in your ecosystem that are necessary and those that aren't, but they've just been there so long they grew roots. So we're going to dive into the fun part now. So we were talking and the topic came up of friends and like how relationships change. any business owner, any person, but we're going to keep it, streamlined to business owners for the most part. Okay. Business owners out there understand that you change, your business change, your priorities, your goals, your mindset, everything changes as you accumulate more experiences. I'm gonna say it that way, because you can be really young with a very vast amount of experiences under your belt. You can be very old with very few. So it's not necessarily as you get older, it's really as you collect experiences, because those experiences change you. We have a tendency, and when I say we, I mean people, to hang on to relationships based off familiarity versus usefulness, even if it's hurting us. And so that would be the explanation for Salma's background. And we talked about creating like a solar system. And before we go into that, Salma, what has been your experience like managing friendships and growing a business before we go too far?
It's been really tough, I'll be honest. When you make the shift into entrepreneurship, which I feel like those of us who are genuine entrepreneurs, we've always been visionaries in our own right. We've just never been put into the ecosystem that has nurtured that and allowed us to be ourselves, right? For the most part, we're surrounded by people that are kind of limited in a fixed mindset where they're not able to expand beyond what they can see. And so a lot of times as a visionary and as an entrepreneur, you come up with solutions for everyday problems, or you come up with solutions for things that have been done consistently that you find that there's a different way of doing it that could be better. And a lot of times you're not really welcomed with your ideas, right? People might, think that you're crazy. It may not be feasible. You might be the first person in your family to do it, or within your friends to even step into this area. And I think for me personally, when I locked in, part of my personality is I'm just a very determined person. So when I make a decision to go after something, like that's basically it. I'm stubborn in that way. And that kind of really eliminated a lot of people from around my circle, because a lot of people just are not as determined as the level of determination that you need in order for you to succeed as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not this sexy thing that you see on Instagram or social media where, having your computer on on the beach and you're just drinking margaritas. Eventually, maybe you'll get there, but true entrepreneurship, as you're starting and as you're scaling, you're working way more hours than you would have ever even thought of as an employee. So a lot of times you don't have the time to cultivate those personal relationships. So for me, the relationships that really weren't solid didn't last. I still have one friend standing, and her and I go back about over 20 years. So she's been there throughout the entire journey. Love her to death. She's literally a sister, like almost a sister. She can't get rid of me even if she tried. But for us, we've been able to grow together, because although she's climbing the corporate ladder, she understands my journey. She shares within, I can share with her my pain. I don't expect her to understand, but she can see all the steps that I've taken in order for us, in order for me to get to this place. But through it all, we've stayed through and, maintained that friendship. But I can't say the same for everyone else, including some of my family members. Not everyone understands. They're always just like, oh, it's family day. And it's like, yeah, but unfortunately I have deadlines and I have to do this. And, you're wearing multiple hats. And unfortunately, sometimes your team members fail, they don't really show up for you. So then you're basically having to wear their hat. So it really hasn't been an easy ride, to say the least, but it's been probably the best journey that I could ever recommend for anybody, specifically those who are tethering within that line. You really get to know yourself on a deeper level. It teaches you things that you never would imagine learning. Your back is against the wall almost every day. And as you're scaling, you're on a roller coaster that's like up and down throughout the day. And sometimes I have to sit down at the end of the day and write down like, okay, what are all the great things that happened? And what are all the crazy things that happened, right?
Do you journal?
Interesting, journaling.
Do you journal?
I do. So I'm one of those people. So I have like this planner that also allows me to journal, and it also allows me to write affirmations. If I don't start my day with that, my day is basically done. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, but I first start with gratitude, right? I have to remember what I'm grateful for, because that puts me in a frequency of happiness and joy automatically, right? Because remembering what you're grateful for, and everybody has something to be grateful for. And then I have a space for my affirmations, because I have to remind myself, right, of the things that, although I may not have them right now, but these are the things that I aspire to. And that's the only place in my life where it's like, it's okay to fake it until you make it. right? So really and truly, it kind of is a reminder of the things you need to work on throughout the day. And then I have my to-do list, you know? So for me, yeah, I definitely have to journal. And then at the end of my crazy days, I have to write down like, I made myself like more aware of the good things, because I think sometimes we focus on all the things that went wrong and I forget, wow, like I, got 4 clients today, as opposed to just thinking like, wow, like this went to shits, right? And so you just kind of have to like balance yourself, and really your perspective really alters your reality. And when I learned that, it's been kind of like a life hack.
Do you think that the people, you said something is very true, they don't get it? And I always wonder, do people just not get it who aren't entrepreneurs because we aren't explaining it to them? Or is it like they just don't get it? Are they trying to get it? Like, do you feel like your friends are trying to get it, or are you taking the time to explain it to them?
I've learned that there's a difference even within the entrepreneurship community. There's business owners and then there's entrepreneurs, right?
Mm.
A business owner is someone that really just purchased a job. Let's just be honest, right?
Mm.
They're the people that are really afraid of kind of pushing the envelope. As an entrepreneur, you don't care if you have, a safety net or not, you're jumping, right? You have a vision, you're going after it. You're a problem solver, you love challenges, you come up with creative ideas because you go for them, right? A business owner is someone who's just kind of like, all right, well, this is what I do. This is my business. And that's just that. They're not looking to expand. They're not looking to grow beyond that. They're not really looking to solve problems. They're just okay being a business owner. There's nothing wrong with that, but their mindset is different. Employees, their mindset is also different. There's this sense of stability that they can't get past, right? For us, we thrive in not having stability, to be quite honest with you, right?
Yeah.
No matter what level you're on, you can never get too comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get comfortable, you're kind of like now in a fixed mindset. And we also have to remind ourselves, okay, like now it's time for the next level. And I think we can't even help it. But I do think that it is a difference in the way that we think. And you cannot change people's perspective as it relates to that. But what you can do is just have an understanding of their level of consciousness as it relates to what they do. So I had to learn, I can't really rely on my employee friends for feedback on my crazy entrepreneurship ideas, because to them, what do you mean? You already have something that works. Why would you mess with that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they can't understand that because they think I'm crazy already. So when you add a different layer to that, now I'm becoming like, I probably should be in a psych ward, right? Some of the, reactions I used to get, and I used to start to check myself until I got around other people that were like-minded. And then I was like, oh my God, this feels like home. And I'm so happy you talked about the summit, because I've never felt like so much at home than I did at the summit, because everywhere I looked was a like-minded person. And it just felt like, wow, like this just feels amazing. It was a euphoric experience. I remember calling my mom and telling her about it. Like, I'm not crazy. Like, there's other people that are the same,
Yeah. And that distinction between business owners and entrepreneurs is very real, because even looking at myself, there's times where people are like, well, you're pretty successful. Why are you trying to do something else?
Right.
And I'm like, why would I not? And for me, I'm sitting here thinking complacency or just being comfortable would feel uncomfortable for me. Uh-huh. And, I'm glad you touched on that. And that's what, in that space is when we start talking about this whole concept of solar systems. Mm-hmm. And what we were talking about is, imagine for anybody who's watching, who's an entrepreneur, if you're listening to the podcast and, you're an entrepreneur and you're just, vibing with the story and you're vibrating on the same frequency, you can probably relate to this. Oftentimes we have everybody in the same planet, like everybody in the same space, just because that's how we grew up, or that's what we're used to doing, or we never thought about doing anything else, or for whatever the reason, everybody's in the same space. And so for us, when we're trying to feel euphoric, or we're trying to feel like, these are the people that get me, everybody's in the same space. So we can't get that organic feeling, because either we're going to dim our light, and we do. Many entrepreneurs will dim their light because they don't want to seem like they're bragging. But then there's this other group of entrepreneurs who like try to shine their light even brighter because they don't want anybody to see through them. And they're like, I have to be the biggest voice. I have to make it seem like it's always sexy. Entrepreneurship is not always sexy.
No,
not at all. But when you have all these people in this space, they're all on one planet, and we start talking about like how do you separate them and not feel number one guilty about it, and then also how do you have it in an organized fashion, because disorganization for entrepreneurs doesn't work, because we're already scatterbrained with all the ideas that we have popping in and out of our heads. That disorganization in anything else, it just is another trigger to make us go, you know what, I don't have time for it, I need to focus over here. And then the people who get put to the side, because not because we're putting you to the side because you're you, we're putting you to the side because we're trying to protect our brains. But again, if you're not an entrepreneur, sometimes you really can't understand that we're not doing it as a direct insult to you. We're doing it truly just to protect the way we think and our peace of mind. And it's not personal. And so Salma and I, we started talking about the different planets in our solar systems. And so, you know, for me, and if you're watching this and you're one of my friends, yes, you probably are on one of these planets. So, you know, just understand it's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. So I have like planet high school friends. And then I have like planet college friends. And then I have like planet business buddies. Now, business buddies isn't the same thing as business ecosystem. Similar, but different. Business buddies are like light, you know, conversational. I may not tell you all my killer ideas or share every single resource, but I'm gonna share some. I'm open. We're gonna have fun talking about business. But when I go to my inner circle, my business inner circle planet, that's when we're really diving in. It feels like a mastermind when I go over there. And we don't hold back. And so like Salma and I, we oftentimes have conversation where she's giving me information about, you know, IP law and things I didn't know, or, you know, law in general, because I didn't know. She's like, let me share this with you, Brent. You know, you should, boom, boom, boom. But when I get on, I'm like, hey, I've just finished some research. Here's everything I have. And I may have paid $250 an hour for that information or whatever, but I'm not going to hold back with her. And I have it's a couple people on that planet, right? And we don't hold back. But how do you put them on a planet? And this is a question for you, Selma. How do you put, number one, how do you name your planets? Let me ask you that first.
So that conversation was life-changing for me. I want you to know that. So, and Brandon's not really giving the full backstory. So I remember we got into the conversation because I was struggling, right? Because I was a person that didn't think that you put people on planets, right? I always assumed that you're either compatible or you're not, right? And then I realized, I was like, well, I'm just going to be on one planet because this just is not going to work, right? Because this is just not everyone can be on the same frequency all the time. So then he was the one that expounded on that and opened up my mind to this idea of having people on separate planets and then just being okay with that. So they don't necessarily have to love everything that you love or can engage in the same conversations as you. But once you identify the strength and where they energize you, then place them there. And it's okay to leave them on that planet. They don't have to come with you to the other planets, right? They may not be, ready for that. And I think the analogy that you use, they might say, once you land, they might be like, oh, it's hot in here, or this is too cold for me. I don't think I want to be here. And I thought it was just so profound because it really allowed me to just expand on my idea of relationships. And in my own like closed-minded way, I assumed that a relationship is contingent on being compatible in every which way. But that's not realistic. It just isn't. So when he said that to me, I was actually like almost on my way to a solo trip where I actually needed to take a time out for myself and really just kind of reassess my life and where I'm going next. And so that was one of the things that I really had to sit down and I was like, man, I really have to think about these planets. So what I've learned is I started to look for people that energize me in different spaces, right? So wherever I felt energized after a conversation, that was the planet. So if you energize me based on the feedback that you gave me about my business, now you're on the planet where I can come to you for a mastermind.
Oh, you know what, Salma, let me jump in with that real quick because that's awesome. So we're talking about planet energized, right? So if you have a planet energized, and what we become is space travelers in our own solar system. That's who we are. We are the space travelers because our head's always in the stars. And, that's who we are as entrepreneurs, especially a certain type of entrepreneur. But when you have a planet energized and you're running out of fuel, you know exactly where to go. If you land on the planet in general, you're energized. And that's awesome. I hope, I'm gonna write that down. But the reason why it's awesome is because when everybody's on the same planet, and it's the reason why they really shouldn't be. If everybody's on the same planet and you land because you need to get energized, you now have to figure out where to go. So now it's not like you just saw out the planet, knew what was going to happen when you landed. No, you have to go, land, and now search. So you're already running low on energy and you're searching, so you're frustrated. You don't know where to go, so you're lost because you just didn't put the right people on the right planet. Planet energized. I'm writing that down. I might get a t-shirt. Okay. So
no, for sure. I think honestly, the best thing that I've learned is energy, right? And how that affects you. There's a lot of times you have conversations with people and it drains you. Or sometimes you might even get around certain people. Like I can get around a person, they might not even say one word. I'm already drained, right? Like I really believe in energy and frequency. Like, you know, if you're tuned in and if you're able to even open up to that person. Me personally, I'm an extroverted introvert. So I have to actually feel your energy to be able to allow myself to kind of be myself around you. Otherwise, I'm just guarded, right? You're not really going to get the full picture of me. But if I feel comfortable because we're on the same frequency, then I'm able to just kind of like let my hair down, have a conversation, which is why you and I have always been able to have real conversations. And we always walk away, at least I always walk away feeling energized and educated. I always learn something from you. There's not one conversation that we have where I don't learn something from you. Right. And we can like go 2 months without talking and then we get on a phone call and then boom, I got something. Right. It's kind of crazy how that works, but it's because we're able to have that synergy and we can kind of think the same. And no matter what idea you throw at me, I'm not scared by it. And I'm not like, oh, that's not going to work. It's like, man, that's so dope. Like, how are you going to do it? And I'm always engaged and interested because to me, it allows me to think outside of the box and it allows me to kind of like expand my mindset. Right. I live for those conversations. I don't have those conversations every day. I wish I did, but I'm not surrounded by people like that every day, unfortunately. But
no,
when you find those people,
you talk about good energy. So everybody, when she's talking about good energy, let me tell you all, I'm gonna say this word wrong. Synchronicity.
Synchronicity. Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So synchronicity was personified today. So we were supposed to do this conversation about 2 weeks ago, but things just got crazy busy. I was trying to buy some land and it just got involved. And so without having a conversation until yesterday, I think we decided to do a conversation that would be live on Facebook and, recorded for the Bold Vision podcast live now today. And when I woke up, I received a Facebook memory link. Apparently we went live, which was our only live like in that space 3 years ago on this day. And I'm like, I don't know what the universe has planned or how this is supposed to play out in the end, but we did a live 3 years ago today. Just because back then too, I don't think we had a real reason. We were talking about IP law, yeah. But the reason why we decided to do it was kind of random. So synchronicity is, yeah, you're it. Like, yes.
No, for sure. And I think sometimes we're not aware of that because a lot of times we don't really know ourselves. But if you're able to feel how, like, just be mindful of how you feel around people, right? So just kind of, you'll be able to see, like, when you go home and you're tired after a conversation or being around somebody, they're probably not on the same frequency as you. But if you walk away and you feel energized, that means that person is your person, right? You need to have that person in your life to some capacity, in whatever capacity that they're able to kind of leave you feeling energized and happy and excited. Because then you get to feel like, wow, like I belong, right? As humans, we always need to feel like we belong and are able to challenge you in a way that motivates you. It's not a challenge in a way that defeats you or that might make you feel like, man, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was, or maybe I am crazy for coming up with this idea, or maybe I'm crazy for wanting to leave my job and starting this little business, is what most people will say. Like, oh, I see you're starting your little business, right? But you can't really rely on those people to really kind of give you that energy that you need to like propel you. But to be honest with you, entrepreneurs don't really need somebody to push them. We're going to jump because we're just crazy like that, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't honestly, when I jumped, I didn't have a parachute. I was like, well, shit, if I fail, then so what? I get back up, right? And that was kind of crazy in a sense, really, if you think about it. Now looking back, I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? but I'm so glad I was not thinking, right? I didn't allow my negative thoughts to, kind of derail me, right? Because now I can't imagine my life any other way. And you really need to have that source of energy whenever you're starting to doubt yourself or whenever you're having an issue. And I know that when you and I always talk, it's always, I think about the things that have been bothering me, right? And that I have just been kind of disregarding or not been able to say out loud. And then I'm comfortable enough to say to you because you get it and then you give me a solution. Yeah. Right? You're always just like, well, why don't you put them on planets? And I literally ate that up and I'm like, wow, like if I put people on planets, then I'm not just going to be on a planet by myself because I'm not trying to bring everybody with me. And I think what you said was, Salma, if you try to bring everyone with you, it's going to be too heavy. You can't carry everybody with you. It's not going to be a fun ride. You're not going to be able to enjoy life because everybody just can't come with you everywhere. Right. And that really changed things for me. So I'm so grateful for that conversation for sure.
No, it's important. And, you talk about the energy that people give and also the energy that people take. And when I'm talking to clients, I tell them all the time, if you get off the phone with somebody and you feel like I want to go work or I want to go try that thing they talked about, or if you just feel energized for whatever reason, you need to put them on some type of rotation. Mm-hmm. And, if also to the contrary, if you're talking to somebody and when you're done, you're like, if I never speak to them again, I'm great. And then the phone rings and you're like, oh gosh. Like if the phone rings and your first thing is like, you look around to see who else knows that the phone rung. Everybody knows that person. Like you're in the middle of Starbucks and the phone rings and you look at it, you go, and then you look around because you're thinking, who else has seen what happened? It's an offense. Yep. In your body and your soul, you feel like it's an offense the person's even calling. And you feel more like it's an offense because you're about to answer it. And then that creates guilt, it creates doubt, it creates all these micro emotions that we don't even know happen. And then it causes us to doubt like decisions that we normally make easily because we made a bad decision and we know it. Like even if it's in the back of our mind, our subconscious, we know we shouldn't answer that phone. So now when you're about to close this deal, a little bit of doubt creeps in. And so for somebody like that, what planet do you put them
on? They're not on my solar system anymore. I've learned that life is short, right? And you should be allowed as an adult to make a decision about who you allow in your solar system. If I'm going to go through this life and travel the world with you, right? Or the galaxy with you. And I feel like you're not really bringing something to the table that adds to me. And an alternative, like what am I really adding to you if I always feel negative, right? So I'm doing you a favor just in the same way that I'm doing myself a favor by making sure that we just don't cross paths. Like you go to your solar system and I'll stay over here. But if you ever come to the same frequency as me and we're able to link up, then by all means, let's link up. But as long as you're in a different space than me, right, or a different galaxy, I'm just not interested. And I think I've gotten to that age where it's kind of that dangerous, like, I really don't care what you think. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to allow you to just come into my space because you're right. We don't have the capacity to deal. I know personally, the moment I start to see certain things, I'm like, oh no, this is negative. I can't. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't have the space for it. And I don't apologize for it because it's a part of self-love. Mm-hmm. And I have to, honor myself and my truth and live in my truth if I'm going to really say I'm authentic. I think a lot of times people think, I used to allow people to make me feel bad for having that knee-jerk reaction to certain people that have low vibrations or a different vibration than me. And I would just say, like, I don't know why this person just irks my spirit, but they irk it, right? And I used to have to justify that because what can you really say? Because you start to sound crazy. And then people would make you feel bad. Like, oh, well, why don't you give them a chance? And it's like, at this age now, no, I don't want to. I'm cool. Like, every time I felt that energy, it's never ended up good. So I'm okay with not engaging anymore. And that's okay.
Oh, yeah. I've been called all kinds of names. So I've been called stuck up. I've been called a jerk.
I get mean.
Yeah, I get know-it-all. I mean, but the thing is, people that know me know my brain always moves towards solutions. Mm-hmm. And the reason why my brain always moves towards solutions is because I want to help people have a better life. It's not to be a know-it-all. It's really so we can just have a good existence. And so when a friend calls me and says, something's going on, I'm immediately like, we can't get off the phone unless we're at least headed into somewhere better. It could just be laughing. Like if we get off the phone laughing, that's a win. but we can't get off the phone the same way we started on the phone. And there are those friends, and I have a planet called complainers, and but they're not bad people. Like they just complain. Like that's just who they are. Like it can be sunny and we're like 100 feet away from the beach, and they can say, well, that's a 100-foot walk. I'm like, what? It's 100 feet? They're like, I mean, why can't we be 20 feet away? Why can't we just, our feet be in the water right now? I'm like, only thing we have to do is get up and walk right there. And for whatever reason, they just want to look at just the glass is half empty, glass is half full. And I'm gonna tell anybody who's listening to this, if somebody picks up a cup in front of you and drinks all the water or whatever's in your cup in front of you and puts it back down, it's still full. It's just full of air. But when you look at it, that's the way I see it. And then other people are like, well, they drunk it all, so it's gone. I'm like, no, it's just full with something different. And so it doesn't have to, that goes back to relationships. Relationships don't have to start or end the same way. And so when you have those family members who have watched you grow, and sometimes they don't get it, right? Sometimes we have a family who originally they were like, look, you need to go get a good government job, stop playing around. And do you know somebody with your skill set, how much you can make at a good job? And I'm like, what's a good job? But what do you do with those people that now that you're here and they have a feeling like, okay, I can't deny that she's far along from where she started, but I don't want to admit that I was, quote unquote wrong. How do you deal with that?
It was kind of funny because I dealt with that within my family, right? And for me personally, I realized that people only see you within the depth that they see themselves. So a lot of times they'll put the limitations that they have on themselves on you, right? So when I learned that, I learned compassion and I stopped taking things personally. And it took me a long time to get there. Like, I'm not gonna lie, because I used to take it personal, like, dang, like, what do you mean? Because I remember one of my brothers used to always say like, oh, you're still a startup. And I'm like, no, I'm actually not. Still a startup, but in his mind, that's how he's seen it. He didn't really he didn't see what I had to, put in, and he doesn't see the growth. And he admits it. And now he's calling me asking for business ideas and so forth. But it used to hurt my feelings. I used to be like, wow, like, is that what he thinks of me? Like, does he not see what I've been doing? Like, I've been crushing shit, But I had to learn that it's not personal. Like, I really had to learn that, because you're laughing at me. I'm dead ass serious. But like, I had to learn that he really just saw me from his lens, right? And that's altered because, again, your perceptions on life and on other people is really your reality. And when I learned that, I realized, okay, he doesn't really mean it personally. He's seeing it from his lens. And then I started to feel sorry for people, because I'm like, wow, like, your lens is like really small. And that's okay, and from that point, I started to just let them know, like, hey, your idea of what I went through or where I am is not actual reality. You're actually looking at it from your lens. 9 out of 10 times they're not able to receive that. So don't use that all the time, right? Because people don't like to take accountability or have that mirror be put up to their face. But for me and my family, like, we've always been honest with one another. That's something that my mom instilled in all of us. So we have those uncomfortable conversations. And recently he did admit that he didn't believe that I could achieve what I have. So that was an honest conversation. And for me, it was enough that he admitted that and that he asked me for help, right? And he's 10 years older than me. So that was enough for me to be like, okay, it's cool.
Yeah, it was, I think for me, mine was my mother. And we're actually going to do an interview. She agreed, which I was shocked. She agreed to let me interview her over, we came from a challenge beginning. I'll say that, it wasn't no silver spoons at all. And about 2 weeks ago, I was able to tell her that from her finally believing in me and that I can do what I was, my training allowed me to master, I made her a millionaire. And, it was really cool to make that phone call and say, Mom, look, I just checked. You're officially a millionaire. And know that I had a huge impact on that happening. And so it took 8 years 8 years of me like hounding her. Like, let me help you with your money. 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 So it was like 8 years of rejection because she couldn't see me as anything but her son who was challenged in school. Like I was that kid and who pretty much had a questionable 50-50 chance of making it like to certain ages. And it's complete one, what is it, 180? And so
Well,
now
yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's 180 because you're going the other way, right? 360 is you're back where you started.
Yeah.
And so it was like, I didn't realize we had to have the talk. We had to talk last week. And she was like, you know, Brent, I really always saw you as that kid who I just worried about. And I was like, wow, you know, I couldn't be mad at her. And you know, it was her truth. It was an uncomfortable conversation. And so I moved her from planet non-believer to now she's on planet believer, but she changed planets. And I thought I thought she'd just be on planet non-believer forever. And it was cool to see that people can change planets. And that's something you should know when you're thinking about, you know, what planets do I have? Do I have planet vacation buddies, or do I have planet turn up crew, or, you know, whatever it is? Because I promise you, you cannot stay on planet turn up crew, but so long. And you got to go.
Yep.
It will burn. It's for me, and being an entrepreneur, if I'm away from entrepreneurship too long, I feel imbalanced. Like just completely imbalanced.
Yes.
You about to say something about the turn up?
I'm so glad you said that. No, no, because I totally get that. And I wish I had this knowledge back when I was a little bit younger, because then I would have still had my turn up crew, right? But as I started to shift and grow into like being, you know, lasered in and just kind of focused, I lost my turn up crew, right? And now that I'm stable and I'm able to go out and do certain things, I'm like, well, I'm just here on this planet by myself kind of thing, which is fine. It's not a big deal. But I wish I would have known that back then, because for me, it was like, all you guys want to do is turn up. Like I'm growing up, like I'm trying to do things differently, and I'm lasered in, but I didn't understand that I could just leave them on that planet and come back years later. Right. So now I wish I knew that information then, because I think maybe it would have been a little bit different, but then I would have been able to experience the things that I'm experiencing now, which is, you know, traveling by yourself has been probably the best experience I could ever recommend to anybody. Honestly, truly, it was something that changed my perspective on things, and it allowed me to check in with myself. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're pulled in a million different directions every day. You rarely have time to yourself. So when you really take the time to say, you know, like, hey girl, how you doing? You know, like, is everything okay? Where are you trying to go? Is this the direction that you're trying to grow into? Or is this something that you're just feeling like you're just kind of rolling with the motion type of thing? And it was really an amazing experience. I recommend that everybody does that at least once a year. I'm now going to do that, if not once a year, twice a year, because I don't care if doesn't matter who I'm around. It doesn't matter. I'm taking that time for myself, because it was probably the best thing I could have ever done.
Where was your last trip?
I went to Arizona, and I went to this resort.
Was that when you were hiking?
I went hiking at 6 a.m. I went to Sedona. I rode a helicopter. I went to like, went wine pouring. Like I did so much. It was just by myself. Like can I curse?
I got you.
Okay, I gave zero about what was going on. I did book mail, like a female that actually took me to Sedona from my resort. So that was safety purposes, right? And it was a great conversation. She was an entrepreneur on the brink of like basically breaking. And having that conversation with her recharged her, and she cried on our way there, because I was able to give her that tidbit of, hey girl, I understand that this is where you're starting, but why don't you focus on women who are traveling by themselves? This is a great avenue for you. And it was one of the best conversations that I could have ever had. My Uber ride from the airport to my resort, the woman cried too, because she was starting her business and leaving a marriage with somebody that was dragging her and like, you know, kind of holding her back. And I was able to pour into her. And for me, those things fulfill me. And it was just crazy how that happened. And I was so proud of her, because she was starting a hair store for children. like an online hair store for kids. And I thought it was such a dope idea. And she felt like everyone looked at her like she was crazy. And I was able to just kind of like reassure her that she was going to be okay. And so for me, those experiences, I'm like, wow, I should really do this more often, you know, like really just start taking trips, because you never know who might need you, right? And so for me, it was a great experience for sure.
You know, Eric from the summit, I met him in an Uber ride on the way to Philly.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I met him in Uber, which I never did Uber. So I'm like the 44-year-old guy. I order Uber Pool or Uber Express, Uber Comfort. I don't know. It was one of those. And when it came, this guy was in the car. I'm like, what are you doing in my Uber? And the driver's like, oh, well, you ordered an Uber Comfort or something. And I'm like, yeah, I thought it was for me to be comfortable. Like, yeah, like, what is this? So she's like, well, we give people, it's a group ride. And I was like, man, that is not what I signed up for. I was like, so how do we work this out? And so she was like, well, I was like, cool, let's go. So I get in, I'm like, oh, who are you? Tell me about yourself. What do you do? And so we're running down the list. And we ended up doing a Facebook Live from the Uber, because he had just told me that he did a movie on Amazon Prime he was part of the crew for the Meek Mill's series, or Meek Mill's movie.
I love that series, by the way. It's great. Everybody should watch it.
So he was on it, like he was part of that. And so I was like, oh wow. I was like, look, you know, what are you doing now? And he told me what he endeavored to do. I said, look, if I ever have an opportunity for you, it's gonna be you. And he kind of had this like, okay, all right. I heard it before. And so when the summit came up, I made that phone call, and he was the lead for the BBE summit. And so those Uber rides mean a lot. But then too, going back to what you said, you were able to pour into those people. You were able to pour into them because you weren't having a conversation with your travel buddy. You were able to pour into them because you weren't talking to your boo-boo about what was going to happen later on. You were able to talk to them because you were present. Yeah. And you were uninhibited. And you had the choice to what that environment looked like because you were by yourself. Yeah. And I think that's something that couldn't happen when you're with the turn up crew. You would have just got in, move over. And then you all would have started focusing on each other. The energy would have been different. It wouldn't have been an open energy. It would have been a recycling energy. Like we're recycling the same energy that we started with. And so, no, I travel by myself, and my friends have gave me the name socially antisocial. So even when I do travel with my turn up crew, I'm normally like here, but I'm in the corner. Or I'm like on the plane, but I'm not in the same rows as them. And yeah. So I totally get it. And I agree. And you said, you know, you're busy scaling up, not turning up. And I was like, yo, I wrote that down. You'll see that on the t-shirt. So I was like, oh man, that's good. It was something similar to that. But you know, when you realize these people aren't necessarily designed to be on your particular planet at this particular moment in time, do you tell them, or do you just place them there and kind of keep it moving?
I think you don't really have a choice, right? It really is contingent upon what your priorities are. I think the turnip crew, for the most part, they'll leave you behind, right? So once they start to feel like, okay, this person is not really coming out, they stop inviting you. And you have to be okay with that, because you're on a mission. And if you're truly like lasered in and determined, it won't matter, right? It's not going to be a big deal. But if you're close enough with these people, then just have an honest conversation and just say, look, I understand that this is what you guys are doing, but right now this is not my priority. I'll check in whenever I feel like I can, right? But this isn't going to be something that I do on a consistent basis. That way you're able to still maintain those relationships if you still want them. I still have a couple of people that I hit up every now and then, but I have to fly out to go and have that fun, which honestly for me, I don't mind it, because I don't really like to turn up where I work. Right. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's fun for me to like, you know, go to a different city and just enjoy myself. And that's okay. And now it's become something where it's like, all right, now I can go back to resuming normal life.
Yeah, I can see that. And, you know, it's this thing about really people in professional sports have it a lot. And it's like a success guilt. But more and more as I meet entrepreneurs, I'm realizing it's very real, especially for those who are on the precipice or already successful. And you know, it's so many people around you that they wanted to start a business, or so many people that need your professional skill set, but they can't afford to pay for it. Or so many people who didn't believe in you, but now they need you. So they're calling on you to give them what they think they need so they can hopefully get where you are, but they still can't pay you. And they feel like it's your job or your duty to perform. And when you don't, it seems like the relationship is now judged on that one moment in time where you couldn't show up for them the way they expected you to. And now you're trying to figure out, okay, what planet do I put you on, or do I kick you out the solar system? Because also what I found is sometimes people just aren't enlightened in that moment. And they don't know they're being self-centered or selfish, but they don't mean to be, if that makes sense. So how do you deal with that?
Interesting enough. So I have a rule of thumb. It's okay for you to have a moment and for me to walk out of your life. But when you want to come back into my life, I don't allow you to do that until you acknowledge what actually happened, right? Because then that shows growth. If you're unable to do that, because there's some people that come back into your life as if nothing happened. No, I remember everything. You can't just walk up in here and think that everything is cool now. You have to be an adult and actually acknowledge what happened. We can have a conversation as adults and we can move on from that, because I'm a forgiving person. But I will not move on from that and push it under the rug if you don't have the adult tools to have that real and honest conversation. I'm just not one of those people. And I learned that most people are like that. They just push things under the rug because it's comfortable. I'm not comfortable with that. Like, I will always feel like, wait, like you tried me. Like, no, there's still some unresolved things in here that I'm not okay with. Like, how do I know that you're not going to do the same thing again? So I've had people that try to come into my life as if like nothing happened. And I'm like, nah, something happened. Goodbye. But if you come back into my life and you're like, listen, this is what I was going through. Like, I had a colleague who was going through a divorce and she kind of got out of character. No problem. I just kind of was like, all right, like, we're going to leave that negative energy over there. But when she did try to come back, it was on a humility kind of conversation, right? Like, hey, I realized I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. And I welcomed her with open arms and I understood. But when you come back with an ego, not interested. You can stay over there.
So I totally get it. And I won't even go into my story. But, you know, I mean, really, the goal of today for people who are listening is to understand that, you know, whether it be attorney Salma Benkabbou, the millennial business attorney or lawyer, or myself, Brent Simpson, we all go through it. And we go through it in a way that's as human as anybody else. And we're trying to figure out solutions to managing this thing we call our personal ecosystems and professional ecosystems. Because the reality is, when you're an entrepreneur, they're the same. And we can try to separate people. We can try to, you know, isolate and segment. Like, this is my business friends. This is my regular friends. No, you can't do it. The same way people say, I'm just going to shake it off because I'm about to go into the office. You're going to shake what off because you're about to go into the office? Like, you can adjust. You can just decide, like, this is what I'm going to do when I get to work. But it's not as if you're not fighting that internal battle the whole time you're at work. So, you know, just understanding, like, our ecosystems are very real and they're precious. And you don't have to be subject to every single thing that other people bring to you. You put them on the planet and go be, you know, a space traveler and visit that planet every now and then, touch down. You know what you're getting into. So before you leave the other planet, prepare. Where are you going next? Map it out. I know where I'm going. What equipment do I need? When your equipment might be the proper attitude financially, because, you know, you're going to planet beggars. So when you land, you got a little shakedown money. And so it's like, you know, if you're going to planet calm, then you shouldn't bring your biggest speakers and your loudest music. You're about to go to planet calm. You're doing yoga. That's where you do yoga. Like, leave all the other stuff on the other planet. Just understand, when you are a space traveler and you put people on these planets, it's not that you don't revisit your own planets in your solar system. It's just there's a time and a place. Yep. And know, and I say this, I go back to that planet Energized. If you know what planet that is, and you have the right people on that planet, anytime you're getting low on fuel, that's where you want to go. and you don't want to pollute that planet, and you don't want to exhaust the resources of that planet. And what I mean by that is you don't want to go there just because you're low. Maybe you want to go there and check to see if everybody there is energized. Maybe you're the catalyst to bring them all together or to re-energize them because they're running low. So don't feel like when you land on that planet, oh, it's low energy today, I'm gone. No, you owe them. It is your responsibility to put a charge into that planet the same way that planet continues to put a charge in you. So, all these places, and just because you're on, a certain planet where maybe they're not where you feel like they should be, and that happens sometimes, where we just see something in people that they maybe haven't seen yet. Don't abandon them. Don't say, you know what, that's planet low potential, so it's always going to be planet low potential. Some planets in our solar system get upgraded and downgraded to dwarf planets all the time. And that's because the size changes, the gravitational pull changes, the numbers of moons change, their satellites change, whatever it is. There are reasons why planets get different statuses based off of when they are researched. Same thing for your own solar system. So, Salma, what would you say in regards to being able to manage the people in your ecosystem has been most helpful about that process?
Knowing myself and knowing my levels of energies and knowing who I am as a person, right? That allows me to understand who I can have synergy with and who I cannot, and being okay with whatever comes with that. So one of my greatest things that no matter the consequences. I pride myself on that because for me, I would rather have peace with myself than try to have peace with others, and I'm not at peace. Honestly, I don't even know how to do that, even if I tried. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So you're gonna know how I feel about you no matter what. And I think a lot of times I walk through life and I see that so many people don't know who they are, and they end up just pointing the finger at other people because it's easy to do that. But I want to challenge people to just look within before you look outside, and check yourself first and figure out, is this a trigger that you need to, process and really figure out if this is something that you need to work on personally, or is this really someone coming after you? Once you're able to discern the differences, then it's easy for you to put people on planets because you're like, yeah, this person is not, we don't have great synergy because of X, Y, and Z. The greatest thing that I can do for myself is, for me personally, once I know that this is not a good, this is not a good relationship in any capacity, it's okay to walk away. And I stopped feeling guilty for that, because people will make you feel guilty for that. I don't feel guilty anymore because I feel like I'm doing you a favor as much as I'm doing myself a favor. So you're welcome.
And on that note, that's the mic drop. So you all have been listening to attorney Salma Benkabbou from the Benkabbou Law Firm, and she is the millennial business lawyer. If you are looking for her, you can find her on IG. Where would they find you?
Millennial Biz Lawyer, spelled correctly, but B-I-Z in the middle. And then you can find me on Facebook as the Millennial Business Lawyer. You can find my law firm as the Benkabbou Law Firm, either on Facebook or on Instagram. Or you can find us on our website, benkaboulawfirm.com.
Yep. And if you're thinking, okay, I want to contact her, where do I find it? The information, if you're on the Bold Vision podcast, you can go to the section or this actual interview, this conversation, and you'll find her information tethered to the rest of the content from today. And if you're on Facebook, the link to the law firm is actually in the title. So we thank you all for being with us. We hope you continue to visit the Bold Vision podcast. We hope we brought you some great information. I feel pretty confident that we did. And you will absolutely see Attorney Benkabbou again, because we have so many things to talk about, especially in this particular environment for the United States. So we have to touch on some real issues. But for today, we just wanted to have some fun, talk about the solar system and how to manage your ecosystem. We look forward to seeing you again. Have a great day, everybody.